CryptoCannaVerse Show tailored for entrepreneurs within the 5 C's: Christ, cannabis, cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, and CPAs. Here at the CryptoCannaVerse, we strive to assist entrepreneurs in growing their business by connecting them to advisors, partnerships, and investment opportunities. I am your show host, Crystal Wampler, and joining me as co-host is Alan Lau, and our guest co-host is Jacob Livingood. Our show schedule is jam-packed, booked through the beginning of November, but if you're interested in being a guest or accessing our current deal flow, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Crystal Wampler at crystal@kinethics.com. You can be ethical in the cannabis industry. Today's show is broadcast live across various platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and our YouTube channel. Our network consists of an array of business owners, Web3 launchpads, VCs, family offices, blockchain hedge funds, high net worth CPAs, attorneys, investors, and angels. Before introducing our esteemed guest speaker, Alan, will you share today's Bible verse and story?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Crystal, for that introduction. Welcome to the CryptoCannaVerse Show. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Today, I like to change it up and not just reading the verse, but I wanted to tell you a story. I think it gives us a little more insight and we get to spend a little more time in the Word of God. So today's scripture comes from Exodus 5, 1-9, and it reads, the title is Bricks Without Straw. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, let my people go, so that they may hold a festival to meet in the wilderness." So Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, I will not let Israel go." Then they said, "The God of Hebrews has met with us. Now let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God, or he may strike us with plagues or with the sword." But the king of Egypt said, "Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people, King of Egypt said, "Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their labor? Get back to work." Then Pharaoh said, "Look, the people of the land are now numerous, and you are stopping them from working." That same day, Pharaoh gave this order to the slave drivers and overseers in charge of the people: "You are no longer to supply the people with straw for making bricks. Let them go and gather their own straw, but require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. They are lazy. That is why they are crying out, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Make the work harder for the people so that they keep working and pay no attention to lies." So if you guys are not quite sure about the story, this is a story that when I was a kid growing up, I heard the story many times. Is basically Moses and Aaron was appointed by God to take the Israelites out of slavery. Okay, this is a time period, and King Pharaoh was the king that rules over all people, and putting hard work and putting the slaves to work. So God told Moses and Aaron to say, "Hey, I'm going to help you to take these Israelites out of slavery, to free them." Since King Pharaoh, he's in charge of all these people, the Israelites, he actually neglected God and didn't know who this person was and why is this person ruling over my people when I'm supposed to be the one, the leader, to rule the people. So the story really comes down to who is the leader in your life? Who's leading you in your life, right? Like, is it yourself or is it your boss? And for me, being a Christian for so long, I always rely on God being the leader, because he's always the Almighty that controls all things, and knowing that he has the best interest for all of us. Not listening and disobeying would be something that I wouldn't do. So this story is really all about listening and obeying to God, knowing that you trust and believe in him, he will free your people. And leadership is important in all the roles, I think. Everyone has a leader, everyone has a boss, but ultimately that's work. But in life, as we know, I always trust in the Lord and God in all things we do, and let him lead the way into our path. So I wanted to share that story and tell you a little story behind it and change it up a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you, Alan, for sharing. The CryptoCannaVerse Show presents speaker Charles Warner, CEO of Innovative Properties Worldwide. Today, Friday, July 28th, 2023. Charles is responsible for overseeing the company's many areas of specialization, including publishing 5 magazine titles, 3 podcasts, and 1 3D virtual reality cannabis event, as well as new streaming channel CBD TV. Charles created IPW in 2009 after 8 years of serving as the CEO of Mainstream Media International of Clearwater, Florida. During his tenure, Charles developed an assortment of cross-platform partnerships with some of the biggest sports properties in the world, including PGA, NASCAR, LPGA, NCAA March Madness, and the Super Bowl. Before his career in sports marketing, Charles served as his country in the U.S. Army as part of a rapid deployment light infantry unit as an M60 team leader. That training spurred a passion for all things innovation, business, and science. Charles became the editor-in-chief of an award-winning quarterly magazine, Innovation and Tech Today, 9 years ago. Charles serves on the boards of the National Cannabis Party and Regenibus. He is part owner of STM Canna, a cannabis manufacturing company that makes high-tech pre-roll equipment based in his hometown of Spokane, Washington. Charles lives in Denver, Colorado with his 11-year-old dolphin-loving daughter and soccer player Aria. He loves travel, tech, comedy, and playing all sports and is a huge Seattle fan. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you very much. That's quite the introduction. I hope I can live up to it.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for your service. We all appreciate that. So I'd like to chat about your publication, Cannabis and Tech Today. You featured some impressive personalities on the cover, including people like Jim Belushi, Melissa Etheridge, Cheech and Chong, Carlos Santana, and rapper Be Real, just to name a few. Among these heavy hitters, I'm curious to know, who was your favorite or most memorable, and what made their feature stand out?
Ooh, that's a good question. One of them would have to be Kevin Smith. We got him when we had first launched the publication. So this was like about 3 years ago, because we talked to a lot of people in the cannabis space, and there was a ton of lifestyle magazines. There wasn't anything really focused on tech, cannabis and tech, and specifically the tech for the business. And so we already had a magazine called Innovation and Tech Today. That's like your mainstream stuff, CES, cybersecurity, gaming and entertainment, all that. And it's been around longer. So we spun off Cannabis and Tech Today. So it was kind of new. We weren't sure how it was going to be received, but it was actually received really well. A lot of people were like, it's cool. I like being able to have a conversation, have a place where, it's all about the tech and not necessarily just the lifestyle aspect. So anyways, we had just kind of got started, and Kevin Smith was one of those that we reached out to, and obviously a big, cannabis fan. And he, I actually saw him before we did the interview. I bumped into him at MJ Biz. I told him, I said, hey, Kevin, there's always a big crowd around him and stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm with Cannabis Tech Today. We're doing an interview with you next week. He's like, oh yeah, man, that's so cool. Got a quick picture with him. And anyways, it was one of the coolest covers because it's got him and he's got like a joint, like right here, and he's holding it up, and he's just, got a goofy face and everything, but he's a really cool dude. Great story. And if you guys follow him, I don't know if you know or not, but my hometown is Spokane, which you mentioned in the intro. He was performing on stage in Spokane when he, after he was done with his show, he had a heart attack. He had the Widowmaker. like the really bad one, right, in Spokane. And anyways, they got him to the hospital and everything like that. And they said, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they were like, because right after he got done on stage, he had smoked some cannabis, and they said that might have just calmed your system down and everything enough, to give us enough time to be able to help you. So anyways, it's a crazy story. He's since then completely changed his diet. He's lost a ton of weight. He used to be a really big guy. And so now he's like super vegan. And, if you follow him on social or anything, he's just very grateful, kind of feels like he got a second chance. So anyways, cool guy, really cool, fun cover. If you Google Kevin Smith, Cannabis Tech Today, you'll see that cover. And it's just kind of one of my favorites just because he's a cool dude, cool story behind it. And yeah, the cover, in the magazine biz, you want to have iconic covers that stand out and aren't too boring.
That's an amazing story. And, I know I've talked to a few people that have just ran into him in the grocery store, and he's always super nice, personable, just genuine, down to earth. Is that pretty much your take on him as well?
Yeah, 100%. And, to even take it one step further, I think I've seen, he's got kind of like one of those I love me walls, behind him, where you've got like your plaques and your trophies and your awards and stuff like that. And he had our magazine, up there, kind of like, displayed amongst his coolest stuff. And another really cool thing about him is, he's officially part of the Marvel comic universe. So I think it was Captain Marvel, they had a scene on the bus scene where I think Stan Lee was reading the screenplay for one of his movies. So he is now officially, and he's a big like comic book nerd fan, like that's his jam. And so now for him to officially be a part of it, by being in one of those movies and stuff like that, he's part of canon now of the Marvel comic universe. So again, just like a really cool story, super cool dude, and easy guy to root for,
Oh, 100%. That's a very cool story. Moving on, like, tell us a little bit more about like, where is cannabis and tech going, and where is it at today?
Yeah, I mean, we started, like I said, about 3 years ago. We have a print magazine, digital. We're on all the digital platforms. That kind of laugh us out the room if a tech magazine wasn't available on all the digital newsstands and, Apple News, Google News, things like that. But yeah, we actually just did a soft launch of a streaming TV channel called CBD TV. And so anybody can find that on your Roku, you can find streaming channels. It's actually cbdtv.us. So you can find it, and we just have a lot of content there from the Emerge, from our interviews, stuff that we've done. And we're looking to kind of build that out. One of the things that's frustrating in the cannabis industry is even if you're even related to the plant at all, a lot of times you find your accounts getting banned on social media. A lot of, Instagram accounts get shut down. People have like tens of thousands of subscribers and followers. They built these great channels, and then they just get a message, saying, hey, that's it. You violated our terms and you're done. So we found that streaming was a cool way you could reach a lot of people that are into, what you're into, and you don't have to deal with the censorship or being shut down. So we're building that out. We're going to get more content. We're going to, continue to do that. And there's some other streaming cannabis channels too, but we think that that's definitely, part of the future. If we want to inspire and inform and, do good storytelling and focus on good brands and talk about innovation, you've got to reach people the way they like to get content. And some people like to read a magazine still. I know it sounds crazy, but some people like to hold a physical magazine in their hand. They like to, curl up with a magazine by the pool or on the plane or whatever. But most people, they're online. And so they're streaming, they're reading digitally. And so we just try to provide really, really good content, how people want to get it. So the streaming channel was a big part of it. And then another thing that we did was, during the pandemic, all the events were done. And events are a big lifeblood of the cannabis industry. It's where we network. It's where we learn. It's where we do business, maybe more so than any other industry. And that's when we got together with a bunch of friends and other media, other events, other brands. And we launched this Emerge virtual cannabis conference in a metaverse-like environment with 3D avatars and people running around. And, that was just us trying to be innovative, techie, to come up with a solution. Because if you guys remember when the pandemic started, there was a lot of Zooms. it was just like zoom, 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 and so a lot of these virtual events were almost, just glorified Zooms. And so we wanted to do something different, creating an avatar, walking around, really great content. And we had 20,000 business cards exchanged amongst attendees during our 4 Emerge events. So wow. Some business was getting done, right? It wasn't just cool avatars running around and stuff like that. There was actually some business getting done. So I think technology and cannabis go together kind of like coffee in a cup, they really go together. And some people ask me, like, what does tech have to do with cannabis? A lot, like every business nowadays too, not even just cannabis, but tech, AI, automation, it's so big, crypto. And so we just wanted to be kind of one of the leaders in that space. And so we're continuing to try to innovate, continuing to try to come up with great partnerships, and find new ways, to grow our audience. But most importantly, just what our mission is, to inspire and inform.
That's amazing. Jacob, you have a question?
Yeah, more sort of a statement, but follows with a question is like, I think it's a really cool thing to like incorporate instead of, a lot of Zooms in the beginning of the pandemic. And while Zooms are awesome and it's a great way to network and connect, it's not as, interactive as other platforms can be. So my question for the audience is, what was the metaverse application that you were using to host these events?
Yeah, it was, it's called Hyperfair is what it was. And they're out of Belgium, and they've since innovated a lot as well. But ironically enough, there was a whole bunch of different platforms that we had to search through before we finally settled on that one there. So that's a great question, because there were so many, and there's still a lot of them out there, like 𝐂𝐫𝐲𝐩𝐿, and there's some that we, that other virtual events did. This was the one we settled on because it was the most kind of like being in a video game. Like just walking around, and we got to pick our backgrounds and stuff. So we had one like in Tahiti, one Emerge. We had one underwater. There was like seriously like sharks and whales swimming behind people, and it was just cool because it's in almost like a metaverse type environment, and you can make it fun. You could do some cool things there. So when people logged in to go to Emerge, it wasn't just staring at screens and people talking. You were actually in and like playing a video game, chatting with other people, exchanging cards. And of course, we had great lineups of speakers too that would rival like any in-person event. So yeah, that's a great question. It was called Hyperfair.
Yeah. What I think is so cool about that is even though it's not, not everybody's jumping in virtual reality, it's not a full immersive experience, but, using the WASD keys and sort of adding a GameFi element to a meeting makes it more of an experience that's memorable, as opposed to just, oh, let's just jump on this video call and have our webcams going. I like that a lot. So while we're in the sort of field of blockchain, which is sort of where my questions shine, I want to talk to you about within cannabis, by the way. And also I want to make a comment before I ask my question. Obviously all of us here completely understand this, but for the viewers, especially on my audience, because my audience doesn't formally come from the cannabis sector, history repeats itself, and we've got a lot of interesting callbacks to sort of prohibition of alcohol in the 20s and 30s. And like, that's where we're at a federal level with cannabis. And there's these sort of social stigmas that, cannabis and people that smoke cannabis are, they're sitting on the couch, they're lazy, they're eating potato chips. But what people fail to realize that aren't necessarily in the sector is that there are really intellectual people that are at the pinnacle of innovating in tech and blockchain and all different sectors, medical, sales, solar, many different professionals that also happen to enjoy cannabinoids. And it's really cool. And I think we are playing a vital role here in sort of crushing that social stigma. So I love that. But when it comes to cannabis and the blockchain sector, where, from your perspective, are we within the industry of crypto, NFTs, and what are some of the latest developments and trends that coincide with blockchain and cannabis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, excuse me, I feel like probably about a year and a half ago, when NFTs were really kind of catching fire, and, the blockchain and Web3, it was like everybody was rushing out to get, to produce some type of NFTs. There was all kinds of, people were buying land in the metaverse next to Snoop, and, you were seeing all this crazy stuff. I think that, like anything else, when it came out, everybody was super excited about how to apply it. I mean, even us as a magazine, right? We were just talking about covers and iconic covers and stuff. Before we pick our cover that's going to go on the newsstand edition, we have all kinds of different iterations that we do with Shane, my creative director, and he's really brilliant. And so we actually, a lot of times, we put the covers out and let people vote. But I was thinking, like, what if we took the alternate covers, the ones that we didn't actually use, turn those into an NFT, right? And then people could, they could own them, they could have them, it would have some type of, value, maybe be attached to a subscription, maybe some type of, ownership or something like that. And so I think that like everybody was kind of rushing to do that, NFTs, blockchain and stuff like that. I think that since then, because the industry is kind of, going through some things right now and stuff, I think some of that has maybe taken a step back. And I think that you're seeing a lot of people, really kind of focused on their operations and things like that. And so I think, testing these things out and trying new things has maybe taken a little bit of a step back, but I think that it's never going to go away. I think that once we can figure out how to really get the blockchain in, as far as for like things like, contracts and tracking and, things like that, like it's going to be incredible. I just think right now the industry's kind of going through some stuff. When anything comes out hot and heavy, man, everybody's jumping in, and you saw brands jumping in, and you saw, everybody was doing that. I think maybe now it's cool just a little bit, and we're finessing, the best ROI and the best applications for this stuff. But I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Well, so what not a question, but more of an observation that sort of calls to my mind is I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 1,000 True Fans theory, but I like the idea of when you have a special publication, you have some specific guest that is a heavy hitter, has a known name, and you use your community to build a little sliver of IP and create that true fan. So you have someone that has ownership of this cover of this alternative cover of what it would be, and you're sort of giving that, you're keeping them engaged in the community. So it's allowing them to have a collectible of sorts. It adds a memory to it. I love that. I love that a lot. My perspective on where we're at in like digital events and stuff, I think you are absolutely right. I think come 2020, when there was a really big boom, and it was a hype cycle, just as anything that's cyclical, right? A lot of people that really did. I mean, when you're sitting at a bus stop and you hear someone talking about Bitcoin, you might know that it's time to sell, right? Like it's. Yeah. Yeah. So we got to a point where NFTs were so popularized. I mean, Bored Ape Yacht Club's trading at 120 ETH, where it's now like, okay, this is we're if you look at the charts on a long enough time frame, it's just so parabolic. This just doesn't make sense. There's going to be a pullback. Yeah. And with that pullback, because a lot of people are, they're investors not for the tech or not for the long-term value or vision, but they're really just trying to get their bags, that as soon as they saw a pullback and they're like, okay, maybe this metaverse thing isn't really necessarily what I want to do, and really the only people that stayed in the sector were builders that were like, okay, look, I do believe in the long-term vision of what this can be, so we're going to stick around. And for me and my team, what I have like a little project where I have a metaverse club where I throw EDM raves, and what's really neat about what we do, yeah, and it's in virtual reality as well, but we actually have cannabis. Obviously you don't actually, get the cannabinoids aren't actually being taken into your body, but you can, we actually like do podcasts and stuff in there, and we can actually pass around a joint and smoke it. And it actually has like visual effects where like you breathe in, and when you bring it close to your avatar's face and smoke actually comes out. It's pretty neat. And we have hookahs as well. And it's so odd that like it kind of gives you like a placebo effect almost of like, wow, like I kind of feel a little bit of an altered state of consciousness from this, even though like that's not actually factual, but the power of the mind is pretty crazy. I'd be interested in hearing what other people think about the state of where we're at with digital events in as far as blockchain enabled goes, before I jump into my next question.
Well, I just want to point out the fact with NFTs and doing magazine covers and having, the magazine features being part of that and part, owner of the IP or whatnot, they're continually getting paid, engaged, building out your community is a super smart play. So I just wanted to make that quick comment, but go ahead, Jacob.
Well, so I have a question for Charles, and it's like, So where we're at, right? We're in a foundational phase of this sort of blockchain digital events sector. Where, in your mind, being someone that has been in the space of cannabis for many years at a high level with working in the sports industry and stuff like that, what does the percentage split look like in the future of like virtual events versus real events? Like how are we going to say utility cross between live events and metaverse events? What's that going to look like, and what do you think like market sentiment for average consumers is sort of like?
That's a great question. And by the way, when you were talking about smoking the cannabis or the hookah, in your thing, one of the things we thought about doing was integrating the real world with the metaverse type world and having almost that immersive thing. So we thought about maybe like having a delivery service, a cannabis delivery service, where people attending the event could actually go and they could order some cannabis or something and then have it delivered, and then they could consume while they're in there doing that, right? And so we were again trying to think about how to bring the physical into that and do something immersive. But to your question, I think that there was almost a resentment to virtual events after the pandemic ended. After we got back to real things, like everybody was like, yes, and we were like hugging, and we were like smoking, and eventually the masks went away and stuff, and there was almost this resentment, law of familiarity. Like we were like, we're done with virtual events. I say nay. And here's why. I think that honestly, one of the best things about the virtual events, and we kind of have proof of concept, with 20,000 business cards exchanged and people doing business with each other and people learning. I think there's always going to be a place for people that want to go attend a virtual event, do some networking, right? Say hi to some people, exchange some cards, set up some appointments, learn some things, and then log off. And not have to deal with TSA, flight delays, want to go to little Johnny's soccer game that night, want to sleep in their own bed. And so I truly believe that virtual events absolutely have a place. One thing that we did in our, and I got to give a shout out to Polyscience. They're the title sponsor of our Cannabis Tech Talks podcast. David Wallach, the guy who is their marketing guy there, he was using their booth in Emerge, because you get a booth and you can do sales and you can do stuff like that in this platform. He was using the booth to set up face-to-face meetings with prospects and clients he had overseas. So when he wanted to have a meeting with someone who was, 10,000 miles away or whatever, instead of them having to deal with, flying and trying to do, he would say, hey, come log into here, create your avatar, come in, we'll meet at this time. And he was using it as a virtual place to conduct business and sales, his booth. And ironically enough, they come with virtual assistants and it's open 24/7. So you could actually do business overseas and not have to worry about time difference. And again, that travel thing, guys, it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs. Travel can be grueling if you go to a lot of events. So I think that in person is amazing. There's no substitute to the connection that you make, physically being there with people and hanging out. I absolutely love it. I also sometimes get tired of travel. And I think that having a balance in the future, this is not going to go away. And I think that, they'll get better and they'll get more interesting and more interactive and immersive. And so I think that from a percentage standpoint, maybe it'll be 70-30, maybe at one point we'll get to 50-50, but I do truly believe that there is a future for it. And we maybe just had virtual event fatigue, but sometimes what's old can be new again. Like vinyl, like I just saw that CDs, like outsold CDs the year before for the first time forever. So like people are kind of going back to physical media. Like it's a strange thing. So I think that virtual events definitely have a future, but they've got to provide value. They've got to really provide value. They can't just be there to be there.
I'm wondering at your virtual events if you can add virtual merch, because I don't know about you, but I like going around and getting merchandise. That would be pretty great, walking around with bags and different things.
Yeah. And I mean, we even had virtual swag bags so that our exhibitors could like put stuff in there, and they could put like, downloadables. They could put things that like drive traffic to their website, promos and stuff like that. Sometimes you get a swag bag and there's like some stickers and some brochures, and you just toss that, right?
That's
so we try to
perfect.
encourage them, put something good in there, have fun and be playful. That's what's going to make your brand stand out. And that's what people want. And since we're trying new technology, and the pandemic was a weird thing, like we don't see stuff like that happen, but maybe once every 100 years, try some things, take some chances, and find a way that you can make this digital world work for you.
And to add to Amanda's point, you could take that digital merch, give it a phygital utility aspect, make it an NFT, and then make it claimable, burn it for real merch that actually gets shipped to you in the mail, which would be awesome. And Charles, I completely 100%, maybe I'm biased because I have a metaverse club where I throw EDM festivals. So
man.
Oops. But I completely agree with your testament. And to add some merit and validity to your point, as entrepreneurs, we are responsible for, hitting our KPIs, our key performance indicators every day. And everybody loves going to an event. Like I went to NFT Miami, and it's great. It's awesome. It's networking. It's fun. Get to, speak on stage, talk to people, meet connections that otherwise you wouldn't have gotten if you weren't there. But it's the day of travel before. It's a 3-day conference. You want to say that networking is part of your business and you're hitting your KPIs, but to be honest, your business is not. You're stepped away. You're having more fun than you're having business, and that's awesome. But with a digital event, right? You have your set time slot. It's from noon to 8 p.m. on one day, and you jump into either your platform, your 2D WASD keys, or you jump into your virtual reality platform. You jump in, you do the event, you do all your networking. Bada bing, bada boom. You're in bed by your bedtime. You journaled, planned. Your KPIs haven't been interrupted. You're back locked in the next day. It's fantastic. And another second point to add is I was one of the keynote speakers at NFT San Diego, and I was showcasing my club, Bolt. My CTO and the product designer that actually created the world, he lives in Washington, D.C. He was not there. So what we did was we had our speaking role, and then we had our booth over in the expo area. And I told everybody, hey, go over there. There's probably going to be a line, and there ended up being quite a bit of a line. But I said, look, we got one headset over there. It's plugged into the computer. Just go ahead and jump in there, put the headset on. And we had our CTO in the world, and he was waiting for that avatar that was connected to the headset to move. And as soon as it moved, he knew, okay, I've got another person here on the end of the line. And he would talk to them, explain the tech, and tour them through the world. So it was a combination at the same time of physical and digital, because they were at a physical event, but they were getting to experience, okay, this is what a digital event could look like. And they do a 10, 15-minute tour, and then they come back out and go, wow, that was pretty crazy. We didn't have any merch for them, but that would have been cool. We'll add that next time. But that's my testament there. And I don't have any current questions, but more may come in just a moment. I'll pass the floor to Crystal.
Awesome. So let's move on to let's discuss your cannabis manufacturing company, STM Canna. Can you tell us a little bit about the automation and what kind of pre-roll production is in your facility?
Yeah. So I think those are two big buzzwords right now, right? Automation and artificial intelligence. It's kind of like A and A. This is not going anywhere. We're not going to be able to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So I figure, businesses and entrepreneurs, they should kind of lean into this and figure out how to make it work for you. And on the automation side, that's what we do at STM Canna. So it's out of, again, Spokane. Look at that. Huh? This just keeps going back full circle. Out of my hometown, we have about, 40 people now working at STM, 45. And we are producing machinery right here in the USA, American manufacturing. We are innovating. We are designing the stuff. It's all patented. And we literally have scalable one tray workflow where you can go from grind to fill to weigh to close, and it's just one tray, and you just go over here, and we have these machines that are they're just like droids, and they do the work for you. We've had some people that pre-rolls are an important part of the cannabis industry because they're very popular, and they also can be very profitable for the manufacturers, for the people that are selling them. The problem with pre-rolls is they're a pain in the butt. They're very labor intensive. It takes a lot of people and a lot of time. Our machines make it so that instead of having 12 people on your pre-roll line, you can have 5. And you can be producing consistent, high quality pre-rolls, like award-winning stuff, by using our machines. And they're scalable, they're backwards compatible, and there's tabletop size, there's bigger ones. So we work with everyone from boutique all the way up to the big MSOs. And we're helping to solve problems that businesses have through innovation, through technology, and through designing these machines. And we started with one machine in 2017. We had a rosin press. We were a little ahead of our time. Nobody was looking to buy a $20,000 rosin press in 2017. So we switched it up and came out with the Rocket Box and our grinder. And now we have this amazing closer. And ironically enough, rosin's back, man. That's a big deal right now. So maybe we were ahead of our time. But no, we're just helping businesses with their pain points. And by getting these machines, these semi-automatic machines, they can save in labor. They can produce more, less downtime, and they're fairly affordable. That you don't have to spend $300,000 or $400,000 on a big giant machine to make your pre-rolls. We've got stuff that goes from like 6,000, up to 45. And so it's a really good solution. It feels good because, again, we're helping people. And then we've got more new products coming down the pike. We'll be at MJ Biz and have a big shindig there. So yeah, that's what we do. We help people in the pre-roll space make and produce awesome pre-rolls.
That's really cool. Are you guys international?
Yeah. We've got clients all over the world. We've got some down in Africa, the Netherlands, Central America, and we have customers in just about every state, and of course Canada. So yeah, it's pretty cool. We're definitely not the most well known. There's some other brands out there, I think, that are doing more marketing and that are more known. But we're really nice, between the entry level stuff and the really, really super expensive all-in-one machines. We're a super nice, right in the middle, I think, option for people out there.
Nice. So let's discuss the Innovation and Sustainable Leadership Awards. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because, besides all the tech that we do, we have at our core of everything that we do at STM and Cannabis Tech today is sustainability. We think sustainability is not just a nice thing to do. We think that it can be strategic and bottom line oriented and really, really smart. So we want to recognize people in the space that are, walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to sustainability, because I think that you find a lot of maybe lip service out there about sustainability. And then you find some companies that it's really important to them and they're really taking it seriously. So we just want to recognize them. I believe as a culture, you get what you celebrate. So if we celebrate innovation and we celebrate sustainability, we'll probably get some more of that. And so we're planning later this year to honor the winners of the Sustainable Leadership Awards at the United Nations with our friends Regenibus. So we're going to have an event there at the end of the year. We're going to announce the winners. And if anybody watching this right now is interested in entering your company, it's super easy. You can go online at cannabis and cannatechtoday.com and you can enter and find out more about the Sustainable Leadership Awards. But yeah, I think that's an important thing, to recognize those that are really doing it, because they deserve that. They deserve that spotlight, and maybe it inspires more. Maybe it gets more people wanting to do that by kind of celebrating them.
That's amazing. So supporting one another is super important. And, I've also read in some of your publications, you are a big supporter in women in cannabis. So thank you so much. We definitely appreciate that. Is there any other questions from our panel?
I have one. You mentioned Regenibus is hosting a event towards the butt end of this year. Can you elaborate on that? What is the what's happening in that event? And where is it happening as well?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be at the United Nations in New York. We had an event about a year and a half ago there, and there's a certain room in the back where they're able to, basically, host an event right there at the United Nations in New York. And we had one basically focusing on sustainable development goals. And we had a whole bunch of heavy hitters from across the industry there. And it was just, I think it was kind of symbolic in a way, that we are having an event about hemp and cannabis in the United Nations building, where the United Nations and the United States was not always very cool to cannabis and hemp. And, there's kind of some history there that's not all rainbows and puppy dogs. So the fact that things are changing, and the fact that the United Nations now through Regenibus and our partners are able to, have kind of this platform and this spotlight and have those people there, I think speaks to the fact that this is truly a global a global thing, and something that can help a lot of people, and something that, hemp, I mean, come on, hemp does everything, and there's so much that can be done with it, and so much that can help around the world. And again, cannabis is there's so much there too. We think that tying in with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations helps us make this not just a United States thing or North America thing, but really a global thing. And hopefully we can help to spread that message, as well as, do some networking, some learning, and spotlight those brands that are, again, very sustainable, and those people that are really helping with sustainability.
I like to make a comment. You're completely 100% true about the sustainability part, because I know not only the United States, around the world is trying to protect the earth and utilizing alternative ways to protect the earth. And I think construction was one of the things that I was on this call with, utilizing hemp to build homes, and I would say use it in a construction format, because I know it's more sturdy. I think hemp grows like 4 cycles in a year. They're using it into building blocks, building homes, building wood. So I can totally see how that could be environmentally safe. And I think that ties into the whole sustainability that U.S. is trying to go after, is being more environmentally safe, I would say, in what we do.
Do people get nominated for the award, or are you guys actively seeking out and trying to find someone for this?
So both. So there's a page where people can go and enter, just like anything else. There's a process. You go and you fill out all your information and you upload your stuff, and then the Regenibus team will be the judges, and we'll go through and we'll find, who the winners are. We did these a year ago, and I believe there's 9 categories, and we gave out 7 awards. The reason we only gave out 7 was 2 of the categories we didn't feel like anybody had earned it, and we didn't want to just give an award to give an award. So but for those that that feel like they are doing something special, we want to recognize them. And so definitely just go online and fill that out and put your company in there, because we have extended them. We were actually going to announce these on Earth Day, but our trip to the United Nations got pushed back until the end of the year. So that means there's time for more people that can enter. And again, we think that sustainability is just a super, super cool thing to be something that we focus on. And again, not just because it's a nice thing to do, right? Not just because, oh, it's cool and warm and fuzzy. No, we think that it truly is strategic and bottom line oriented, and it's just good in, so many different ways. That's why we have those different categories.
I have a question. So entering in with Regenibus and putting your business, your hat in the or your name in the hat, so to speak. Are these specifically companies in the cannabis sector, or is this including the digital events sector as well? Also a really cool plaque there.
Yeah. This is one of the things that they get for winning. And this is actually the SDGs one. It's kind of hard to see. But yeah, and the companies that enter, they'll get a lot of press. They'll get, obviously they're going to be, kind of partners of ours. They'll have a chance to use our magazine and our platform to get their message out there. And yeah, it is predominantly cannabis companies, but there's space for everyone and anyone. And I feel like there's a lot more now crossover. with events, with, stuff like that. So yeah, it's really, hey, listen, if there's a good story to tell, we want to help tell that story.
That's awesome. How does it feel being in cannabis and tech and making it to the United Nations?
I'm telling you, like it was wild. It almost didn't even feel like it was real. I feel like it was a big breakthrough for Regenibus and their sponsors and their members, to be able to be there and to invite those people. And it truly was. It was kind of like a who's who, and we're standing out in the back there, right by the river, and you're downtown, you're surrounded by all the buildings in New York, and you've gone through the security and everything, and you're in the United Nations building, and you're just like, wow, we've come a long ways. But we've still got so far to go. We still got a long ways to go.
That's amazing. Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Charles, and being our guest speaker. It was amazing. Before we close out, can you please tell our viewers and listeners where they can reach you at?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. You can find me at Charles Warner on most of the social media, 𝐂𝐫𝐲𝐭𝐫𝐲, and also STM Canna for anybody in the pre-roll industry or anybody who wants to partner or anything like that. It's just stmcanna.com. And then most importantly, Cannabis and Tech Today. Sign up for the newsletter. Follow us. We have our podcast, Cannabis Tech Talks. It's on pretty much every platform there. And, we're on social media. So just follow the conversation. If you guys want to subscribe to the magazine, won't be mad at you. But, you can for free, just sign up for the newsletter, grab the podcast. And again, we're always looking for partners. We're always looking to collaborate. So if you've got some ideas and you want to reach out about how we could work together, please do, because we're very collaborative. And again, our goal is to inspire and inform. We want to lift the whole industry, and help destigmatize and make people comfortable with tech and blockchain and cool stuff like that.
I would absolutely love to get on a call with you because I have excellent ideas of how we can partner together.
Let's do it, man. I'm down.
Yeah. And then an observation.
What a dream team you guys are going to make.
Yeah. And an observation. It sounds to me, from what I'm hearing, that Regenibus is playing a large role in sort of ending prohibition of this plant that is helping a lot of people. And I think that's very noble. It's awesome. And somebody's got to do it.
Absolutely. They're really, really great guys. And everybody that's a member of that, Regenibus family, just awesome people. So I encourage you to check that out. And you can just Google Regenibus, same thing, follow them on social media, check it out. Great, great mission that they have there, and proud to be on the board there and a partner.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your wonderful questions, Jacob, Amanda. You guys are so sweet for coming on weekly and supporting the show. We appreciate you. Alan, can you please close up?
Yes, I'd like to have some closing comments. Thank you so much, Charles. Before I close in prayer, we want to express our gratitude to each and every one of you for joining us today. And we can't wait to have you back next Friday for another exciting episode. If you haven't already, we encourage you to follow us on YouTube channel and connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay updated on all the latest content and announcements. Let's keep the conversations going and build a thriving community together. So let's all bow our heads and close in prayer. Heavenly gracious Father, Lord, just thank you so much for this wonderful group of people that comes on a weekly basis. And thank you so much for Charles being our guest speaker to share with us about his passion, his business, his podcast, and how cannabis tech is moving. Lord, we know that you're putting the people in place in front of us so that way we can learn, we can grow, we can inspire, and continue to lead the way, because we know that you are the leader. As long as we keep our eyes on you and put you first in all things that we do, we know that you will create a heavenly life for us, knowing that we all are bodies of Christ. So Father God, just continue to pray for this group, for this weekend. Continue to lead the way in all the things that we do, and protect us from evil. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
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 Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.